Earth is more than just a home. It's a cosmic miracle, a blue dot where life defied the void. In this video, we begin our journey through the solar system by exploring the most extraordinary of all worlds, our own. Imagine the universe as a vast, dark, silent, and frozen expanse. Amid this immensity, a small blue dot orbits an average star, 150 million kilometers away. At first glance, it's just another planet among billions. But as you get closer, something extraordinary is revealed: Earth, the only known place in the entire cosmos where life has flourished. With an estimated age of 4.54 billion years, Earth is a cosmic veteran. Its birth was forged in fire and impact. Fragments of stardust merged under gravity, collided violently, melted into incandescent magma, and gave rise to a young, inhospitable, and constantly boiling planet. There was no air, no seas, no life, only liquid rock and meteor storms. But Earth transformed. Over millions of years, it cooled. The crust solidified. Volcanoes released gases that formed a primitive atmosphere. And then, in an almost magical act, water appeared, perhaps brought by comets, perhaps formed internally. It rained for centuries, and the first oceans took shape. Earth went from a scorching inferno to a blue world. Today, Earth is a dynamic balance of forces. At its core, a heart of iron and nickel spins in continuous rotation, generating a powerful magnetic field that protects the planet from solar winds, charged particles that, without this shield, would strip away the atmosphere. This invisible barrier is vital. It is the shield of life. The surface of the Earth, in turn, is in constant motion. The crust is not a solid shell but a mosaic of tectonic plates that collide, slide, and slowly drift apart. They are the forces that raise mountains, carve valleys, trigger earthquakes, and feed volcanoes. This process, known as plate tectonics, is one of the reasons Earth is so geologically active, and so diverse in its landscapes. The atmosphere, composed mainly of nitrogen and oxygen, is a thin gaseous layer that envelopes the planet. It's where weather phenomena occur, where we breathe from, and what regulates surface temperature. Without this cover, Earth would be as cold as Pluto at night and as hot as Mercury during the day. It's a fragile layer, but essential. Covering more than 70% of the surface, the oceans are the planet's liquid lungs. They absorb carbon, generate oxygen through phytoplankton, and regulate the global climate. Ocean currents distribute heat between hemispheres, influence winds, storms, and even the fate of civilizations. Water is not just a resource, it is the blood that runs through Earth's veins. But what truly sets Earth apart from any other world is life. From microscopic forms to continental giants, life is everywhere, in forests, deserts, poles, and the deepest ocean trenches. It adapts, endures, transforms. Earth's biosphere is an interconnected ecosystem where every life form influences the others. It is a delicate cycle, built over billions of years. Humans, who appeared just over 300,000 years ago, are a recent phenomenon on the geological scale. And yet, we may be the most impactful species to ever inhabit the planet. We have conquered all continents, redirected rivers, built cities, flown, dived, and now look to the stars. We are the only animal that seeks to understand the origin of everything, including ourselves. But this awareness comes at a price. Human actions have accelerated climate change, driven species to extinction, deforested vast lands, and polluted the oceans. Earth, resilient as it is, has endured mass extinctions, ice ages, and cosmic collisions. But it had never faced anything like the impact of humanity. Still, Earth keeps spinning. One full rotation every 24 hours. One orbit around the Sun every 365 days. A perfect, silent, constant dance. A natural spaceship, carrying billions of passengers on an infinite journey through the cosmos. Earth is not just our home. It is our origin, our sustenance, and, as far as we know, our only chance. Every tree, every river, every mountain, and every living being composes a unique symphony of existence. And if there's one thing the cosmos teaches us, it's that none of this is guaranteed. Everything is precious. Everything is rare. Everything is finite. When we look at Earth from space, we see a fragile blue sphere floating in darkness. No borders. No flags. No divisions. Just one planet. One world. One miracle. Earth had calmed. After ages of fire and cosmic storms, the blue planet began to breathe more gently. The seas covered most of its surface, and the sky, though still thick with primitive gases, began to stabilize. But there was still something missing, something that, in the silence of time, would change everything: life. There were no trees, no animals, not even bacteria. Only shallow oceans bathed in relentless lightning, seas rich with chemical elements from the deep and from ancient stardust. And it was in this seemingly barren, yet chemically fertile environment that the improbable happened. Molecules began to organize. Simple compounds grouped into more complex structures, forming the fundamental building blocks of life: amino acids, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids. All of this occurred without direction, without purpose, guided only by physics, chemistry, and time. Somewhere between 3.8 and 4 billion years ago, one of these structures developed a unique ability: the ability to replicate. It was the birth of life. The first cell, if we can even call it that, was incredibly simple. But within it resided a power previously unknown in the universe: the power to copy itself, to persist, to evolve. Life did not begin with a bang, but with repetition, a silent molecular dance that spread through the warm waters of Earth's primordial oceans. These early organisms were prokaryotes, unicellular beings without a nucleus. Extremely resilient, they thrived in extreme conditions: boiling thermal vents and environments rich in sulfur and methane. They were extremophiles, ancestors of all life forms that would follow. They fed on inorganic chemical reactions in a process called chemosynthesis and lived alone for nearly 1 billion years. But life, by its very nature, transforms. And at some point in that long journey, a group of organisms emerged with the ability to do something revolutionary: photosynthesis. Organisms like cyanobacteria began to use sunlight to convert carbon dioxide and water into energy, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. At first, that oxygen was toxic to most life. But it began to accumulate in the atmosphere and, over time, profoundly altered the planet. The Great Oxygenation Event, which occurred about 2.4 billion years ago, was a catastrophe for many microorganisms, and at the same time, an evolutionary blessing. Oxygen paved the way for new, more efficient forms of metabolism, and for an explosion of biological possibilities. Cells began to specialize. Some developed internal compartments, giving rise to eukaryotes, cells with a nucleus. They engulfed smaller cells in a clever symbiosis that would lead to the formation of mitochondria and chloroplasts. Life grew increasingly complex, preparing for its next great evolutionary leap. About 1.2 billion years ago, something even more extraordinary occurred: cells began to group cooperatively, forming the first multicellular organisms. Individuality gave way to collectivity. Each cell began to perform a specific function: movement, defense, digestion, even thought. It was the beginning of biology as we know it today. Meanwhile, the planet continued to evolve. Tectonic plates reshaped the continents, eruptions sculpted the land, the seas rose and fell, creating diverse habitats. Earth became a living laboratory, where natural selection tested countless shapes and survival strategies. During the so-called Cambrian explosion, around 540 million years ago, life erupted into a dazzling variety. Creatures with exoskeletons, rudimentary eyes, fins, legs, shells, a symphony of forms filled the oceans. From that point on, the biological world would never be the same. It's almost impossible to grasp the vastness of time separating that moment from today. But everything that exists, trees, insects, dinosaurs, human beings, descends from that continuous line of evolutionary success. Every breath you take carries the signature of that deep past. Every cell in your body is a direct descendant of those first sparks. The origin of life on Earth was not a single event. It was a long, cumulative, mysterious process, a statistical miracle that, even today, intrigues scientists and philosophers alike. How did something so simple become so complex? How did inert matter learn to feel, to think, to question? We may never know all the answers. But one thing is undeniable: life on Earth was no trivial accident. It was a cosmic dance of elements, forces, and time, a masterpiece of nature sculpted over billions of years. And it all began with a silent spark, lost in a primordial ocean. Earth became a living world. And with that, it became unique. Earth now breathed differently. The oceans teemed with life, and the continents began to blossom with green. Primitive forests, formed by giant mosses and colossal ferns, spread across vast plains. It was a time of transition, from sea to land, from the simple to the astonishingly complex. After the Cambrian explosion, around 540 million years ago, living beings began to conquer terrestrial environments. First came the invertebrates, arthropods adapted to live outside water. Then, vertebrates dared to leave rivers and lakes, and over time, transformed their fins into limbs, their gills into lungs, and their vulnerabilities into strategies of domination. Thus began a new era, the Paleozoic era, marked by the expansion of life onto solid ground. Winged insects crossed the primeval skies, amphibians hid along muddy lake shores, and primitive reptiles began rehearsing a dominance that would last for millions of years. But nature never grants anything without cost. At the end of the Permian, about 252 million years ago, came the greatest mass extinction in Earth's history, the Great Dying. More than 90% of species vanished. The planet was blanketed in toxic gases, temperatures rose abruptly, and the oceans became acidified. It was as if Earth had been reset. A new beginning. And from that evolutionary silence would emerge the undisputed rulers of the planet for nearly 200 million years, the dinosaurs. With the arrival of the Mesozoic era, life regained momentum. And the planet seemed ready for something grand. Dinosaurs appeared quietly at first, but soon grew colossal. They dominated ecosystems with astonishing variety: fearsome carnivores like Tyrannosaurus rex, massive herbivores like Brachiosaurus, swift predators like Velociraptor, and flying creatures like Pteranodon. During the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, Earth was a prehistoric paradise. Tropical forests blanketed the fragmented continents, the climate was warm, the poles had no ice, and shallow tropical seas advanced inland. The continents as we know them were still drifting apart, but the shapes of South America, Africa, and Asia had begun to take form. And it wasn't just dinosaurs that roamed this era. The seas were ruled by colossal marine reptiles like Mosasaurus, while the skies were filled with winged hunters with membranous wings and sharp vision. Flowering plants began to emerge, attracting pollinating insects. Small mammals, still timid and nocturnal, survived in the shadows, waiting for their moment. But no era lasts forever. Around 66 million years ago, a celestial body roughly 10 kilometers wide collided with Earth in what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact was catastrophic. The energy released was billions of times more powerful than an atomic bomb. A cloud of dust covered the sky. Global fires, tsunamis, and months of darkness followed. Photosynthesis ceased. Food chains collapsed. And the giants fell. It was the end of the dinosaurs. But, ironically, also a new beginning. With the dominant predators gone, small mammals finally emerged from the shadows. They adapted, diversified, and filled the empty niches left by the fallen kings. It was the prelude to a new age, the Cenozoic era, the age of mammals. And eventually, the age of humans. But the dinosaurs didn't vanish completely. They left behind living descendants, birds. Every sparrow that flutters, every eagle that soars, every raven that watches, all are heirs to a Jurassic past. Earth never completely forgets its ancient kings. It reinvents them. Today, when we look at fossils embedded in stone, we are reading the pages of a story written in bone, ash, and time. Every skeleton is a message from the past, a reminder that all that is born will one day die, and all that dies transforms the world around it. Earth has lived many worlds before ours. It has been ruled by trilobites, by fern-covered forests, by sea dragons and flying monsters. It has been as hot as Venus, as cold as Mars. And it will continue to change long after we are gone. That is the beauty of Earth, its infinite capacity to reinvent itself. The reign of the dinosaurs was a long, magnificent, and brutal chapter. A time when the Earth roared, stomped, and breathed deeply among colossi. But it was also a time that prepared the planet for us, so that, one day, we could tell its story. And every step we take on the ground today is a step upon that past. Earth had once been a stage for giants, from primordial oceans to colossal eruptions, from life forms alien to our eyes to landscapes carved by time. For billions of years, it spun in silence, building its own balance, sculpting mountains, tearing down forests, creating and erasing species as if writing and tearing pages from an eternal book. But around 300,000 years ago, something new emerged. Something small, fragile, but radically different, us. Homo sapiens was not born a king. We were born as prey, not predators. We lived among larger beasts in a hostile world, where every tree could hide danger, and every night might be our last. But there was something within us, a rare spark. A mind that didn't just react, but imagined. We weren't the strongest, nor the fastest, but we were the most curious. That curiosity drove us. From small groups on the African savannas, we migrated, hunted, and spread through forests, deserts, islands, and mountains. We adapted our skin to the climate, our culture to the land, our tools to our needs. We created language, myths, rituals. We learned to tame fire, and with it, we lit up caves and scared away predators. But more importantly, we lit the symbol of what we would become, the transformers of Earth. Then came the first villages, and soon, cities. We raised walls, temples, pyramids. We invented writing to remember, math to measure, art to feel. We developed agriculture, built societies, and formed empires. In just a few millennia, a blink in geological time, we went from wandering the plains to designing civilizations. But with rise came division. The same mind that built bridges also created borders. The same intelligence that shaped tools also forged weapons. Homo sapiens began to alter not just itself, but the planet itself. And Earth felt it. We diverted rivers, raised entire forests, drained wetlands, and built cities with millions of inhabitants. Intensive agriculture changed ecosystems, and industrialization filled the skies with smoke. We carved roads where animals once roamed. We changed the course of winds with skyscrapers. We lit up the night, reshaped the soil, the water, the air. Today, the human presence is so profound that scientists debate whether we've entered a new geological era, the Anthropocene, the age of humans. Never before has a single species had such an impact on the planet. We are altering the climate, disrupting natural cycles, and reducing biodiversity. We're causing extinctions at a rate 1,000 times higher than normal. We're warming the atmosphere, acidifying the oceans, and melting ancient glaciers. Yet Homo sapiens also looks to the sky. Amid pollution and conflict, a yearning remains, the desire to understand, to explore, to protect. We've launched telescopes into space, probes to other planets, and messages to the stars. We've photographed our home from afar. Carl Sagan's pale blue dot reminded us that, in the vastness of the universe, Earth is all we have, all we love, all we are. We are, at once, the pinnacle of evolution, and its greatest threat. We create vaccines, yet also build nuclear weapons. We study the stars but forget the soil beneath our feet. Modern civilization has brought comfort, science, art, and technology, but also inequality, destruction, and alienation. Now, we face a choice. We can continue expanding, consuming, and destroying, or we can finally understand that we are part of a greater organism. That the planet is not a resource to be exploited, but a home to be cared for. That our future depends not only on technology, but on wisdom, on empathy, on reconnection. Earth is a miracle that happened once. A planet where rocks learned to sing, where atoms learned to love, where stardust became conscious. Here, oceans tell stories to continents. Here, every leaf, every animal, every human is part of something greater. To look at Earth is to look in a mirror. We are made of the same carbon, iron, and water as the stars and the seas. We are Earth, walking, speaking, creating. And as much as we dream of Mars, of distant galaxies, of space colonization, we are still children of this planet. We still depend on it. We still breathe its air, drink its water, harvest from its soil. Our destiny is intertwined with hers. And perhaps, in recognizing that, we can write a new chapter. A chapter in which Homo sapiens is not the destroyer of the world, but its guardian. A chapter where science walks hand in hand with wisdom, and progress with respect. A chapter where, for the first time, we possess not just knowledge, but consciousness. Because Earth doesn't need us. But we, most definitely, need her. This was another chapter in our special series on the planets of the solar system. Today, we explore the wonders and mysteries of planet Earth, our blue home adrift in the cosmic void. But this journey is just beginning. Every Saturday, a new planet. Each with its unique story, hidden beauty, and secrets that challenge our imagination. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who love the mysteries of the universe. We'll see you next Saturday for another adventure through the cosmos. Until then, keep looking to the stars.